Michael Carrick is quietly rebuilding Manchester United's identity, one small tactical detail at a time, and today I'm going to break down exactly how he's doing it. Now, yes, I know what you're thinking. It's only pre-season. The scoreline doesn't really matter. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Pre-season is where managers test their real ideas before the pressure of the real season kicks in. So if you ignore it, you're missing the blueprint. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand United's whole game plan before a single ball is kicked competitively. Let's start with the core problem Carrick inherited. Whenever Manchester United face the smaller sides of Europe, the Rosenborgs, the should-be routine fixtures, teams that sit deep and defend in numbers, something strange happens. United freeze up. History tells us this. Games that should be comfortable turn into nervy 1-0 scrapes or frustrating goalless draws. So why does this keep happening? And more importantly, can Carrick actually fix it? That's exactly what we're about to find out, so don't go anywhere. Normally, teams facing this problem pick one of two approaches, and honestly, neither is perfect. Option 1 is patient possession, what some call death by 1,000 passes. You calmly circulate the ball, probing for gaps, waiting for the low block to crack. Sounds nice in theory. The problem: it gives the defense time to get even deeper and even more compact, and it leans heavily on individual brilliance rather than structured patterns. Teams like Spain can do this. Bayern Munich, with the technical quality they have, can do this. But can United's current squad really be trusted to break teams down purely through control and individual quality? I'm honestly not convinced, and judging by what we saw in pre-season, I don't think Carrick is either. Before we get into his actual solution, quick pause, because if tactical breakdowns like this are your thing, now's the perfect time to hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Seriously, this channel exists for exactly this kind of analysis. Alright, back to it. So what's option 2? Go direct and go fast. Launch the ball into contested areas early and back your physical presence to win the second ball before the opposition can settle. It's a strategy that bypasses the press completely, which is genuinely valuable against sides that hunt you high up the pitch with real intensity. But here's the catch, and it's an important one. Against transition-hungry opposition like Rosenborg, teams that are actually built to counter-attack at pace, spamming long balls just hands possession straight back to dangerous players in dangerous areas of the pitch. You're basically inviting the exact kind of chaos you're trying to avoid. So which route did Carrick actually choose? Neither, and that's the clever part of all this. What we saw against Rosenborg was Carrick threading the needle between both extremes, building on patterns from the second half of last season but sharpening them further. Picture a narrow central corridor, 2 strikers, the double pivot and the 2 centre-backs, all condensed tightly through the middle of the pitch. This creates layers of passing options and vertical lanes that are genuinely difficult to defend against, because there's always a second and third option available. Add in zigzag combinations through that central column, and suddenly United have multiple routes to progress the ball rather than one predictable path that defenses can simply cut off. Sounds simple on a whiteboard, but the execution is what actually makes it dangerous in a real match. Want to know the real masterstroke, though? It's what happens out wide while all of this is going on centrally. Carrick's wide players aren't just there to hug the touchline and wait for a cross. Their entire job is to stretch the opposition horizontally, dragging fullbacks away from their centre-backs and ripping open the half spaces directly behind them. Combine that spacing with United's tendency to interchange positions constantly. Players popping up where you least expect them, and defenders simply don't know who to track anymore. That's how you unlock stubborn, low-block sides, not through pure patient possession, and not through hopeful long balls, but through structured spacing that quietly creates chaos for defenders who thought they had everything covered, but none of this works without the right player occupying that pivotal central role, and United happen to have exactly that player right now. And here's something most analysts completely overlook when they talk about Carrick's United. What happens the moment possession is lost? Because a narrow, condensed shape in the build-up doesn't just help you attack, it also protects you defensively the instant the ball turns over, with that central corridor already packed with bodies. United are naturally positioned to counter-press immediately, swarming the ball before the opposition can even think about transitioning. Compare that to a wider, more stretched build-up, where losing the ball often means racing back 30 or 40 yards just to get numbers behind it. Carrick seems to have realized that good attacking structure and good defensive structure aren't actually separate problems. They're the same problem solved from 2 different angles. Curious how that plays out against sides with real pace in behind, though. That's the question this early phase of pre-season hasn't fully answered yet. There's also a subtler benefit here that's easy to miss if you're only watching the ball, because the wide players are positioned so high and so wide to stretch the opposition. United's fullbacks are freed up to sit slightly deeper as auxiliary centre-backs whenever possession breaks down. That gives the whole team a kind of defensive insurance policy, extra cover against exactly the counter-attacking threat that sides like Rosenborg are built to exploit. It's a small detail, the kind of thing you'd genuinely miss on first watch, but it's precisely these small details that separate a coach who's just drawing shapes on a whiteboard from one who actually understands how those shapes hold up under real pressure, and that distinction is becoming clearer with every passing preseason fixture. That player is Benjamin Sesko, and this entire system looks like it's been built to get the absolute best out of him specifically. He's a genuine technical target man, someone who can receive the ball under pressure, turn away from his marker, and thread a pass with real vision and timing. Both of United's goals against Rosenborg came directly from him dropping into space to link the play together. On the first, he collected possession in a deep pocket between the lines, spun away from his marker in one clean motion, and slid a perfectly weighted pass into a teammate's stride for an almost embarrassingly easy finish. The second followed an almost identical blueprint. Sesko dropping deep again, a teammate rotating around him to create an extra passing option, before the ball eventually found him just outside the box, and he did exactly what elite technical forwards do in that moment. This isn't luck, and it isn't coincidence either. This is a system finally being built around a player's actual strengths, instead of forcing him to be something he clearly isn't. Now let's talk about United's other lingering issue, one that's honestly been there for years and cost them points more than once, the build-up phase itself, and the man quietly fixing it might genuinely surprise you. Carrick loves setting up in a box shape during build-up, with the double pivot dropping deep alongside to centre-backs, who push out wider than usual. Sounds clean and simple on paper, but there's a wrinkle underneath it. One of the deep midfielders simply isn't a natural ball carrier by trade. His game is built more around clever off-ball movement and perfect timing than driving forward with the ball glued to his feet, so Carrick needed a solution. And he found one in a player who's barely gotten a fair chance at this club until now. Enter the second forgotten man of this analysis. He constantly darts into pockets of space to receive the ball under pressure, using genuinely superior close control to escape tight areas and release the ball into space for teammates to exploit further up the pitch. Watch closely and you'll see the exact same pattern repeat itself. Over and over, a teammate opens up the passing lane. This player drifts subtly into the half space, receives on the half turn, and either lays it off instantly or drives forward himself with real purpose. One sequence in particular stands out, and if not for a small miscommunication with a teammate nearby, it could easily have ended in a genuine goal-scoring chance. It's a subtle, unglamorous role, but it's exactly the kind of connective tissue this United side has been desperately missing for a long time now. So here's the bigger picture starting to form. Carrick isn't trying to reinvent Manchester United overnight, and honestly that's probably the smartest approach available to him right now. He's troubleshooting, methodically identifying exactly where the cracks are and applying the smallest possible fix that solves the biggest possible problem on the pitch. That goal conceded against Liverpool last season, the one that came from a breakdown in exactly this kind of build-up structure. That's precisely the kind of recurring issue he seems determined to eliminate for good this time around, and the way he's redeploying his existing personnel to do it tells you everything you need to know about how he actually thinks as a coach. What genuinely impresses me about Carrick is how hard he is to pin down stylistically, and I mean that as a compliment. There's no rigid, forced Carrick ball identity being crammed onto this squad regardless of personnel. Instead, it's adaptive problem-solving, worked out game by game, pattern by pattern, based on what's actually in front of him. And maybe his biggest strength of all is his underrated ability to get the best out of previously underused players on the fringes of the squad. Sesko never really found any rhythm last season, arriving mid-campaign into a team that was far more focused on short-term results than any kind of long-term tactical fit. That's not a knock on the player himself. It's simply a case of a specialist being repeatedly asked to play a generalist's role instead. Now, finally, it genuinely looks like Carrick is building the entire system around him rather than the other way around, and that's exactly the kind of coaching decision that quietly turns forgotten names into difference makers over a full season. Players like Sesko don't fail at big clubs because they lack quality, and this is worth remembering. They fail when the system built around them doesn't understand what actually makes them special in the first place. He's not a plug-and-play striker you simply throw onto the pitch and hope for goals to appear out of nowhere. He's a connector, a genuine specialist who needs the ball played into feet under the right circumstances and with the right support around him. And based on everything we saw this pre-season, it looks like Carrick finally understands that completely. If this pattern continues once the real season begins, don't be shocked if United's entire attacking identity starts to look completely different by autumn. Of course, one pre-season friendly against Rosenborg doesn't guarantee anything once the fixtures start counting for real. Bigger, better organized defenses will test this system in ways a summer warm-up simply can't. But the underlying principles, the narrow central corridor, the wide stretch, the specific roles carved out for specific players, those are the kind of foundations that tend to hold up because they're built on logic rather than hope. Will it survive first contact with a genuinely elite low block in August or September? That's the real test still to come, and it's exactly the kind of question worth tracking closely as the season unfolds. So that's the tactical picture forming under Michael Carrick so far this summer, subtle, deliberate, and genuinely built around understanding his players rather than forcing them into a rigid system that doesn't fit their strengths. If you found this breakdown useful, smash that like button before you go, and if you haven't already, subscribe so you catch every single analysis the moment it drops on this channel. Until next time, take care.